Notre Dame is a lot better than you realize. Now, a lot of people want to define teams nowadays by singular performances. But that's not the era that we're living in. We're not living in an era anymore, as we now have expanded to the 12-team playoff. And even really when we played in the 4-team playoff, we're not living in an era where perfection is necessary to win a championship. It's not. Like, you have the opportunity to improve as the season goes along. You have the opportunity to make mistakes and yet still be in a position to contend for a championship. Like, everybody right now is having a really hard time evaluating Notre Dame. I get that. I watched the NIU game. I saw them get pushed around in the NIU game, and it was a difficult game to unsee when it comes to evaluating who Notre Dame is and what Notre Dame can be. But since that game, you almost have to just remove it and just evaluate the response. Okay? Evaluate how they have responded to that poor performance. There's a reason why when they went into the portal and they evaluated everybody and they said, you know what, yeah, Riley Leonard, we'll take him. Want to know why? Because he was the most difficult quarterback that we had to defend last year. That was what Marcus Freeman said. Said we had a hard time defending Riley Leonard when he was at Duke. So if you can't beat him, we'll take him. They do. They go out and get him. And while he did not look comfortable in the season, okay, played okay against Texas A&M, did not play well, had a couple interceptions against Northern Illinois. But you look at how he's played down the stretch, and he's been a whole lot better. Now, the stats are never going to be eye-popping throwing the football. That's just not where he is. It's not who he is. And his personnel and their offensive identity is not going to lend to 400-yard passing games. Or at least, if you're Notre Dame, you hope it's not, because that means that Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price are not getting the touches that they need and deserve. So the traditional passing stats aren't going to just blow you away. He was 13-21 for 178 this past weekend. But you got to take everything else into account. How often did he look downfield, not like what he saw, and took off? I mean, he ran the ball 10 times for 83 yards. He also was really patient in this game. Navy does a good job of confusing opposing quarterbacks, which is why they've intercepted 10 passes this year. He wouldn't take the bait. He didn't like it. He ran it. He didn't like it initially. He'd wait. He'd allow it to uncover, and he'd deliver the ball accurately. I think he looked a lot more like the 2022 version of Riley Leonard. And remember, it's understandable that it's maybe taken a little time to get to this point. He was banged up all of last season. He missed most of the offseason due to multiple ankle injuries, ankle surgeries. He also had a toe surgery. So I think you're starting to look like the guy that we got a couple years ago when he was one of the better quarterbacks in the country that no one really talked about. So his best football is probably coming. And guess what? You still have to account for their talented tandem of running backs and an offensive line that is still young and growing and improving. I mean, Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, even Kedron Young are guys that are going to be able to pound you in the football, pound you all the time. Now, if there's an Achilles heel there for Notre Dame, it's the deep ball passing attack. And that has not been an area of strength for Riley Leonard dating back to his time at Duke. Well, I thought in the game, in a very windy environment at MetLife Stadium in Rutherford, New Jersey, he threw the ball pretty well in the downfields. He hit Bo Collins for a deep ball. First drive of the game, hit Jaden Greathouse in the slot against blitz coverage for a big play. So maybe the deep ball is coming. And when it arrives, this offense will be insanely difficult to defend. We know they can play great defense. That's never been a problem. I expect that to continue. But the offense is starting to take the strides that would have you thinking that they can maybe be a contender when the playoff arrives here in a few weeks.